Hi, I'm Roy Schwartz. I write about pop culture for the Forward and for CNN.com, among other places. And I am the author of Is Superman Circumcised? The Complete Jewish History of the World's Greatest Hero. In the last 3 episodes, we have discussed the Jewish influences of Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. They're available on the CSP website for members only. Now, today we're going to talk about Green Lantern, and you must be thinking, wait, Green Lantern is Jewish too? So I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. The answer, surprisingly, is yes, sort of. Green Lantern is an interesting case because he's a household name, more or less, but he isn't generally thought of as Jewish, even by people who keep tabs on such things. There's certainly no hint of it in the 2011 Ryan Reynolds movie, which, if you haven't seen, don't. But the Emerald Knight is, in fact, a character steeped in Jewish lore. Green Lantern debuted in July 1940 in All American Comics 16. Most comics at the time were anthologies, a bunch of short stories strung together by different creative teams. It was very rare. Very few characters got their own titles. And he's one of the very earliest superheroes. He was really preceded, out of the big names, he was really preceded only by Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. And on the Marvel side, Namor and the Human Torch, but those are less famous. This Green Lantern was Alan Scott, a railroad engineer saved from a bridge collapse by a glowing green train lantern that was fashioned in ancient China from a prophesized talking meteor. Really. Using part of the meteor to fashion a ring for himself, it gave him the ability to fly and create constructs of solid light. He then donned a flamboyant green, red, purple, and yellow outfit and went off to fight crime. He was created by 2 Jews, Martin Odell, with help from Milton Finger. Finger had also co-created Batman in 1939, the year prior, and Dillon would co-create the Pillsbury Doughboy in 1965. But there's nothing particularly Jewish about their creation, about this Green Lantern. In fact, Nodell was inspired by Chinese folklore. Lanterns are meaningful in Chinese culture, and Wagner's Ring Cycle operas, themselves based on Norse and Germanic legend. After World War II, superheroes fell out of favor. Comics were still going strong, but the genre of superheroes fell out of favor, and Green Lantern was retired, along with many others. The only ones who really continued uninterrupted were Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the holy trinity of DC Comics. In 1956, however, DC Comics editor-auteur Julius Schwartz, no relation, sort of revived the superhero genre. Schwartz was a known figure in science fiction circles, having helped organize the very first World Science Fiction Convention in 1939, and later became a literary agent who represented, among others, Ray Bradbury and H.P. Lovecraft. Together with different creators, different artists and writers, he brought that sci-fi angle to superheroes, reinventing old characters with a new twist. Keep in mind, this, to give you context, this was the era of Roswell, New Mexico, you know, the UFO crash, flying saucers, the beginning of the space race, etc. And so in 1959, Schwartz, together with writer Irving Broom, and artist Gil Kane, Eli Katz, all Jewish, of course, created a new Green Lantern. This one was Harold Hal Jordan, a test pilot chosen for his fearlessness by a dying alien to take his place in the Green Lantern Corps, an intergalactic peacekeeping force. Armed with a high-tech ring fueled by willpower that can create anything he imagines out of solid light, from a giant fist to a jet, he wears the sleek green, black, and white uniform to patrol the spaceways. And while there's nothing Jewish about the original version of the character, Alan Scott, this one borrows several elements from Jewish culture. Kane Katz modeled Jordan after his former next-door neighbor, and a young, aspiring, handsome Jewish actor who'd since become something of a movie star, Paul Newman. Newman, by the way, was paternally Jewish, but identified as Jewish because, I quote, "it's more of a challenge." Now, the founders and overseers of the Green Lantern Corps are the guardians of the universe, the oldest and wisest beings in creation. Not to be confused with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, who clearly operate on a much smaller scale. Kane modeled the Guardians of the Universe after David Ben-Gurion, the founding father and first prime minister of Israel. In 2014, they even introduced in the comics a new Guardian named Gurion. Ben-Gurion, by the way, has quite a legacy in comic books. We'll get back to him next episode about the X-Men, exclusively for CSP members. Jordan also stood apart from other DC heroes at the time in that his civilian identity isn't a pretense. He's not like timid Clark Kent or Playboy Bruce Wayne, or even an everyman like Barry Allen. Those are Superman, Batman, and the Flash, in case you didn't know. Jordan is a hotshot test pilot, Top Gun style. And it's because of his bravery that he's chosen to become a Green Lantern. That he's heroic before becoming super, that courage is his defining attribute, and that he's based on a Jewish action star can all be seen as Jewish reclamation in the post-war, post-Israeli independence era. A year after Green Lantern was created, Newman played the lead in Exodus, about Israel's creation and fight for survival, setting off a trend of films, most notable being here Cast a Giant Shadow with Kirk Douglas, also Jewish, by the way, born Isur Danielovich, in case you didn't know, that changed the Jewish image in America, at least for a time. Green Lantern's abilities come from his ring, the most powerful weapon in the universe. Now, magic rings can be found in virtually all mythologies and folklore, but one of the most famous ones is King Solomon's ring, or seal, which, according to the Talmud, he received from the heavens to fight evil. Like Lantern's ring, it had a symbol at its center, a simple geometric shape, denoting a connection to a higher power source, the Star of David in this case, shone a bright light and required faith to work. The motif of light, particularly as a force of creation, is central to Judaism. Just like Green Lantern can create anything he imagines out of light, light is what brings creation into existence in Genesis, when God declares, "Let there be light." And like the Green Lantern oath, the Corps has their oath, and it calls to shine their light upon those who worship evil's might. Jews are called upon in Isaiah to be a light unto the nations, to those who worship false gods. The mission is the same, using light to deliver law, justice, and freedom. Lantern's ring is charged by the Central Power Battery, a massive lantern on the planet Oa, seat of the Guardians, at the center of the universe. Long before the Star of David came to represent the Jewish faith and people, that really started around the 16th century, proliferated 17th century. You didn't see these necklaces until the 19th century. It's fairly modern. The menorah Hebrew for lamp, candelabra, or lantern was used to symbolize Judaism. Today, it's the official emblem of the state of Israel. You see here on the bottom right. The menorah resided at the heart of the temple in Jerusalem, which at the junction of Europe, Asia, and Africa was at the center of the known world. What's really interesting in this context is the original number of green lanterns, 3,600, one for each sector of known space. No explanation has ever been given for this number, and it may be arbitrary, but it does carry a strong connotation in Jewish tradition. Jewish thought attributes symbolic or metaphysical meaning to certain numbers called typological numbers. For example, 7 represents the immanence of the immanence of the divine in the material, the manifestation of the godly in the earthly. It's the days of creation, as you see here. It's the number of Hebrew words in Genesis 1:1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. It's the pairs of clean animals on Noah's Ark. These were not just 2 of each, these were 7 pairs of the clean animals. It's the number of patriarchs and matriarchs, right? If you know the Miodea, right? 4 fathers and 3 fathers and 4 mothers. It's the source of Samson's power. His hair actually is described as having 7 braids, not a mane like it's often depicted. That comes from the neoclassicism of the Renaissance, and it goes back to Hercules legends, which may have been inspired by Samson, right? Samson tears a wolf, Hercules the Nemean lion. It's a whole thing. We can do an episode just about that. But bottom line, he had 7 braids. And it's the number of lamps in the menorah. The number, it's also my lucky number. The number 36 is associated with light. Excluding the shamash, the service candle, literally shamash means service. 36 candles are lit during Hanukkah, the festival of lights, meaning accumulatively, right? You put new candles in every day. The Babylonian Talmud contains commentaries on exactly 36 tractates of the Mishnah, illuminating biblical passages. The whole of the Talmud is 63 tractates, by the way, it's the reverse. It's also the number of life. In the Hebrew alphanumeric system, the word chai, meaning life in the singular, equals 18, and its first plural is 36. I chose a subtle chai necklace here, as you can see. I'm sure you've seen a couple of those around Israel. According to the Talmud, in every generation there are 36 righteous ones, the Lamed Vav Tzedikim, or Tzedikim Nistarim, virtuous people who oppose injustice and defend life, preventing the world from coming to an end, and whose identity is secret. Nistarim meaning hidden. It's a well-known concept in Jewish lore, in Jewish folklore, and it's not entirely implausible that it was in the back of Schwartz's or Broom's or Kane's minds when they came up with 36 masked defenders of the cosmos. Bringing things full circle, the Midrash describes the tzaddikim as agents of light who fight off the darkness that preceded creation, explaining the day and night in the opening portion of the Torah in Genesis, not as literal, the sun after all was not created till day 4, right? But as figurative good and evil. This is echoed very nicely in the Green Lantern Oath, in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. It's also reflective of the story of Hanukkah, portrayed as a war of light and darkness, won through the miracle of inextinguishable light, the little oil lamp, and possibly lasting 8 days. The Hebrew Hanukkah song, Banu Choshech Legaresh, we've come to expel the darkness, even sounds like the Green Lantern Oath. Disperse darkness, away blackness, disperse in the face of the light. In case you caught it, by the way, the music for this episode's credits is a version of the melody for this song. As a little aside, a little fun aside I wanted to include, there's a Green Lantern named Sarek who is from the planet Vulcan, which is a playful homage to Mr. Spock from Star Trek. Here you see him giving Jordan the "Live long and prosper" salute. Leonard Nimoy came from an Orthodox Jewish family that fled the pogroms. Yiddish was his first language. Same for Shatner, by the way. And the character of Spock was largely his creation. And he said that a lot of what he put into Spock came from his Jewish orientation. A half human, half alien from an advanced race dedicated to logical thinking and scientific pursuit. Spock is essentially a Jewish cliche, right? A stereotype in sci-fi clothing. More specifically, Spock's Vulcan salute was created by Nimoy based on Birkat HaKohanim, the ancient blessing performed by the Jewish high priests, the Cohens, using the hand to form the Hebrew letter Shin. Comes up. Standing for Shaddai, one of the biblical names of God. That's what we put on mezuzahs. The accompanying greeting, "Live long and prosper," he took from Deuteronomy, where Moses, after 40 years of wandering through the desert, finally delivers the Hebrews to the promised land, which he cannot enter, wishing them live and prosper and prolong your days. Now, to be clear, though Green Lantern's creators did borrow a few elements from Jewish culture, the parallels here are meant to be playful, not an earnest argument for his secret origin. There's nothing to indicate that they meant him to be Jewish or even crypto-Jewish. This is just fun, and they just brought a couple of little things. However, except Hal Jordan actually is Jewish. The first hint can be found in 1989's Christmas with the Superheroes #2, a Christmas special. They have them in comics like they have them in sitcoms. Where he wishes his good pal, the Flash, a happy Hanukkah. But it's unclear if it's because he is Jewish, the Flash is meant to be Jewish, or because of the Jewish guy in the room with them. I think it's the latter. However, Jordan's Jewishness was sort of picked up and hinted at here and there following until it was finally made canonical in 2016 in Justice League, The Dark Side War, Green Lantern 1. A short title, where it's revealed that Hal's father was Catholic and his mother Jewish. Writer Tom King, whom I talked about in episode 2 about Batman, based it on his own mixed heritage upbringing. So Green Lantern is Jewish. So next year, instead of Christmas with the Superheroes, maybe DC Comics can put out a Hal's Happy Hanukkah special. I'm available to write it if anybody asks. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Please join me next episode next month about the X-Men.